Everyone thinks the One Ring was simply a weapon. A tool Sauron created to conquer Middle-earth through brute force. A magical object that corrupts anyone foolish enough to wear it. But that assumption hides something far more disturbing. Because the One Ring was never truly about power. Not in the way most people imagine. It was not merely a weapon. Not merely a source of domination. Not even merely evil. The ring was something stranger. Something psychological. Almost alive. And Tolkien quietly implies the One Ring represented a terrifying idea hidden beneath all of Middle-earth. The desire to control reality itself. Tonight, we're talking about the hidden truth behind the One Ring. Why it corrupted nearly everyone who touched it. Why even the wise feared it. And why Tolkien may have been exploring something far darker than fantasy magic. At first glance, the ring seems simple. A cursed object forged by Sauron inside Mount Doom. An artifact designed to control the other rings of power. And technically, that's true. But that's not what really happened. Because the deeper you study Tolkien's mythology, the more unsettling the ring becomes. Most people never realize this, but Sauron did not create the ring merely to destroy kingdoms. He created it because he could not tolerate chaos. That detail changes everything. Sauron's greatest obsession was not violence. It was order. Absolute order. The kind of order where every thought, every action, every living thing moved according to a single will. His will. And the ring became the physical embodiment of that obsession. Like a machine built to force reality into obedience. This is where things get darker. Because Tolkien's world is built on freedom. The freedom to choose. The freedom to fail. The freedom to change. Even the gods of Tolkien's universe allow imperfection because existence itself depends on free will. But Sauron hated that uncertainty. He wanted permanence. Predictability. Control. And the One Ring became his attempt to overwrite the natural structure of existence. Think about what the ring actually does. It does not simply make people stronger. It amplifies desire. That distinction matters. Boromir wants to save Gondor. Galadriel wants to preserve beauty. Saruman wants wisdom and order. Even Frodo wants peace. The ring does not invent evil inside them. It takes their deepest longing and slowly transforms it into domination. Like a mirror that reflects not who you are, but who you could become if nothing restrained your ambition. That's why the ring feels so psychologically terrifying. Because nobody believes they would misuse power at first. Especially good people. Most people never realize Tolkien's darkest idea was not that evil seduces the wicked. It's that noble intentions become dangerous when combined with unlimited control. That's the true poison inside the ring. And this is where Tolkien becomes almost frighteningly philosophical. Because the ring does not merely corrupt morality. It corrupts perception. The longer someone possesses it, the more reality itself begins bending around obsession. Time distorts. Relationships collapse. Identity erodes. Look at Gollum. People often describe him as a victim of greed. But the ring consumed something even deeper. His ability to exist as a complete person. Smeagol slowly became divided against himself. Not metaphorically. Literally. The ring fractured his identity until he no longer knew who he truly was. Like a man staring into a mirror for so long that the reflection replaces him. And honestly, that may be more horrifying than death. Because death ends suffering. The ring prolongs it. This is where things become deeply unsettling. Most fantasy artifacts corrupt through obvious temptation. But Tolkien designed the ring differently. The ring adapts. It studies weakness. Not like a conscious monster exactly, but like a force seeking psychological entry points. That's why it affects people differently. To Boromir, it promises victory. To Sam, it promises healing the world. To Galadriel, it offers godhood wrapped in beauty. And perhaps most terrifying of all, the ring often speaks through truth. That's what makes it dangerous. The ring could genuinely help defeat enemies. It could genuinely preserve kingdoms. It could genuinely reshape the world. But that's not what really happened. Because Tolkien understood something terrifying about power. The ability to impose perfect solutions eventually destroys the freedom that makes life meaningful. That's the hidden mechanism beneath the ring. It transforms love into possession, protection into domination, hope into control. Like holding a flower so tightly you crush it while trying to preserve its beauty forever. And suddenly the ring stops looking like a magical object and starts looking like an idea, a philosophy. The belief that suffering can be eliminated if one person gains enough power to force the world into order. That idea appears again and again throughout Tolkien's legendarium. Morgoth wanted to reshape creation. Sauron wanted to organize existence. Saruman wanted to engineer peace through control. Even the elves were tempted by preservation. Especially the elves. This is where things get darker. Because the rings of power were originally created for healing. Preservation. The slowing of decay. The elves feared time itself because they watched beauty fade endlessly across centuries. And Sauron exploited that fear. Most people never realized the One Ring was built upon the same desire driving nearly every tragedy in Middle-earth. The refusal to accept loss. That's why the ring feels strangely modern. Humanity constantly seeks systems capable of controlling uncertainty. We try to conquer aging, conquer nature, conquer death. We build technologies hoping to stabilize existence permanently. But Tolkien quietly suggests something horrifying. The desire to eliminate all chaos eventually becomes indistinguishable from tyranny. Because life itself depends on unpredictability. Without freedom, beauty becomes sterile. Without change, existence becomes stagnant. And the ring embodies the temptation to freeze the world forever beneath a single will. This is why Gandalf feared touching it. People sometimes misunderstand that moment. Gandalf was not afraid because he lacked strength. He was afraid because he understood himself too well. He knew the ring would use his compassion against him. That's terrifying. The wiser someone becomes, the more dangerous the ring becomes in their hands. Because wisdom creates confidence. Confidence creates certainty. And certainty creates the illusion that domination can be justified. Even Galadriel nearly fell into this trap. One of the wisest beings in Middle-earth. Yet when offered the ring, she imagines herself becoming beautiful, terrible, worshipped. Not destroying the world outright. Saving it through overwhelming control. Like a queen imprisoning reality inside eternal perfection. This is where Tolkien reveals the ring's final horror. The ring does not merely enslave individuals. It erases the possibility of genuine freedom. Sauron's ultimate goal was not destruction. Destruction is temporary. He wanted obedience. A world where every mind moved within the boundaries of his will. The ring was essentially centralized domination made physical. A machine for reducing existence into predictability. And the terrifying part? Part of humanity finds that comforting. Because freedom is painful. Choice is painful. Uncertainty is painful. The ring tempts people with relief from all of it. No confusion. No weakness. No fear. Only certainty. Only control. Only order. But Tolkien understood something many modern stories forget. A perfectly controlled world ceases to be alive. That's why the destruction of the ring matters so deeply. Not because evil was defeated. But because Middle-earth rejected the temptation to dominate existence itself. And notice something crucial. Frodo does not destroy the ring willingly. At the very end, he fails. That detail is essential. Most people never realize Tolkien may have been implying that absolute power cannot simply be resisted through personal strength alone. Nobody fully escapes temptation forever. Not even the pure-hearted. The ring is ultimately destroyed through accident, fate, providence.